Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Vision Pros Live. I'm your host and coach, Fletcher Ellingson. So glad you're in this conversation. So glad you are showing up today. I think these conversations are important. Why? Because we're talking about stuff that matters: our health, our wealth, our relationships, how to get to that next level, how to bring a greater sense of workability to our lives and the lives of those around us. And today, our guest is Glen Lubbert from Stamina Lab. And welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Fletcher.
Yeah. Hey, before we dive into what it is you do, before we dive into who it is you help, let's start off with a win. And the reason I like to do this is because there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of suffering occurring in our world at this moment. And let's remind people that good is still happening and that we can be the cause in good occurring. So I like to remind people that wherever you put your focus, that's going to determine how you feel. So what's something that's going well in your life, either professionally and or personally?
Oh, that's a great question. Personally, I would say that what's going well is I've been training for my first marathon, and it's coming up in December. And I think what the win I like to say is that getting up in the morning for these training runs is a challenge. You have to get up early, especially here. I'm in Austin, Texas, so it's hot during the summer. So you have to get up early in the morning before dawn, and getting up, regardless of how far I'm running, just the act of getting up every morning and that discipline or sometimes, just convincing yourself to get out that door adds a little bit of extra confidence to my days, because I've done something hard, even if I don't go run that far, just the act I got up and got out the door is the win, I would say. And that just really gives me a little extra confidence for the whole day that, I've done something hard already.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm ready to take on the day. I could tell the days that I don't do that, if I haven't been able to do it, and that's okay. It's okay not to do it every day, but, I can say, I wish I had that feeling that I had the day that I did that little extra hard thing and got up, and I got out the door. So that's my win, my personal win, I would say.
That's a great win. Uh, Everything you just said is spot on. You're doing a physical activity which takes willpower, um, and you're exerting yourself. You're doing something strenuous. So it's like you said, you come back and you're like, oh yeah, that was a shot of confidence. Like I can take on the day, right? I mean, it's a lot of what I now have to do might seem easy in comparison, right?
Exactly. And it's an underlying little bit of confidence that you have in yourself that is like I said, the absence of it is when I notice it.
Yes, exactly. And it's also this matter of thinking. It's well, I could get up and do that versus I got up and I did that,
Yeah.
right? A lot of us, oh, well, yeah, I mean, I could get up and do that, but Glenn actually got up and did it.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference.
Yeah.
First of all, I just want to acknowledge you for taking on your fitness at this level. You said this is going to be your first marathon. Is that accurate?
That's correct. Yeah, I was a Division I track and field runner back in my youth, and I stopped running for many reasons. One of them is I started a company, and it takes over everything. And I did not respect my health and well being during that time period, and I got burned out. So as I started Stamina Lab, one of the key things that I wanted to do was make sure that I had a health first approach to myself, because I knew that not only was it good for myself, but it was good for everyone around me, my team, my colleagues, my loved ones, to have that, put your oxygen mask on first type situation. And
Yes.
it wasn't taking away from the business. It was enhancing the business by doing that. So I started running with a running group here in Austin, and before long, they're like, "Oh, you should try a half marathon." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't have any interest." And they're like, "Well, it's a downhill half marathon." I'm like, "All right, I'll give that a try." And so, 3 of those now. Then so someone's like, "Well, you should try a marathon." I'm like, "Well, I don't have any interest in doing that," but here I am giving it a try because it's just that little extra challenge. Like we talked about the discipline of getting up in the morning. That shot of confidence is kind of as addicting.
Yeah. Oh gosh, so many good things here. I'm making some notes because I really want to highlight some of this for our listeners here. You said you're taking a health first approach for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just pause there for a second because I love this idea, and I really want to invite our listeners to ask themselves this. Reflect, first of all, what he just said. He's taking on a health first approach for himself. We all know intellectually that this is a wise thing to do, to keep the machine healthy and running at its optimal level. We all intellectually understand that that's an important thing to do. And what I want to invite you who are listening is I want to invite you to just ask yourself, do I have a health first approach for myself? Do I practice a health first approach for myself? Now, and just listen to your answer. You might say, yeah, I do. You might say, no, I don't. You might have a lot of chatter in your brain about rationalizing why you do or you don't. And there's no good, bad, right, or wrong answer. This is not about guilting or shaming anybody. I just want you to get curious. Do I have a health first approach for myself? And if you see something in there for yourself, this is an opportunity. This is your access point, perhaps, to taking a different action. You also said, you also mentioned the word discipline a couple times. I want to pause there and just take a moment, because a lot of people, when they hear that, like, well, yeah, Glen's doing training for a marathon. He's disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us are going to be like, I don't have that discipline. Well, first of all, we need to really define what discipline is, because a lot of us think that it's some magical element that you either have or you don't. Oh, I'm not disciplined. I mean, look at Glen. He's so disciplined. He gets up before the crack of dawn. Look, discipline is not the act of getting up and running. That's not the discipline. The discipline it takes place before that. The discipline is the ability to direct your thinking and your focus. That's it. That's all discipline is. It's the practice of directing your thinking and focus so that you can get up while it's still dark and go run. So what I want our people to listening, what I want them to hear is that this guy, Glen from Stamina Labs, when he talks about discipline, what he's saying is that I'm practicing directing my thinking in such a manner that I can then take specific actions. And what I want our people to know is that you can do that too. Discipline is a practice. You're not born with it. It's not a magical thing. It's a practice. Glen, chime in. Are we on the same page here?
Yeah, I think there's two things that came up for me when you were saying that, which was, one is the way that at least I'm applying it here in this context of getting up in the morning, but in general with behavior change and our solution focused approach that we can talk about at Stamina Lab that we do, is that it's understanding why I'm doing this, what difference is it going to make in my life? And so so a lot of times we talk about the negative. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. But what do you want instead? We have a metaphor where, you get into a cab and the cab driver says, "Where do you want to go?" And like, well, I don't want to go over there because I stink at that. I don't want to go over there because that's not fun. I don't want to go over there because that person hurt me, or whatever your reason, or that's really hard. I don't want to go over there. Well, the cab driver's like, well, that's fine, but where do you want to go? I can't drive the cab until you say where I want to go. And so
Yeah.
it's asking yourself, what do you want instead, or what do you want? And then the other question is, what difference will it make for yourself? And you just keep asking yourself that, what difference will it make? And when you understand what difference that will make, that really gets it deep intrinsic into you. So when it's not fun, it's hard to get up in the morning, like I said, or whatever your mountain that you're trying to climb, whatever that, there's going to be that everyday thing you have to do. And the question you have to remind yourself is, oh, what difference is this going to make for me? And ultimately it gets back, when you ask that question enough, it gets back to I'll have love and kindness and joy, and ultimately you get to all those bigger things. But even things that are more closer, more tangible to you, maybe I'll have more money, or I'll have better health, or but again, what difference will more money make for you? I'll have more time and freedom, those type of things. But you have to continue to ask yourself, what difference will that make for me, and what do I want instead? You have to tell the cab driver where to go.
Yeah, and that is such a great analogy. I'm definitely gonna borrow that and use it. It's such a great analogy. Yeah, because we are practiced at saying what we don't want.
Yeah. And our
I
brain
don't want
doesn't
that.
hear the word don't, or does it? It just, because it says,
Exactly.
okay, I don't want cake. I don't want cake. But we know what cake feels like and tastes like, and what it looks like and smells like. All of our senses are very attuned to the what cake is. So when we say, I don't want cake, all our brain is hearing is cake, 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 cake over and over, because it knows what that is. So you have to as you're talking about, direct the attention of your thoughts and your actions. You have to direct it on something you do want, and be as detailed and clear as you possibly can, because the brain doesn't know the difference between the past, present, or the future. So when you describe that place you want to go in as much detail as possible, your brain has already been there. And a lot of times when we're trying to get to a goal, and the conventional wisdom says, okay, I have a goal I want to go to. Okay, so how do I get there? But then there's time, money, people, anything that's blocking you from getting there. So you're like, oh, I can't do it because of all these things. But when you describe that future, that cake, in so much detail, the brain is so creative that it says, all right, I've already been there. So it's going to figure out, okay, all the different ways I can get to that cake, because it's already been there. And those roadblocks are no longer there because you've jumped over that. And now you're asking yourself, what's something, even the smallest thing I can do in the next 24 hours that would tell me that I'm moving in that direction, even the smallest thing. And that just builds on that momentum.
Oh man, yes, I'm loving everything you're saying. Yes, we are well aligned in this thinking, and I absolutely agree. Yes, visualize the outcome. We have an infinite mind, infinite, and the brain, once it sees the outcome, it gets highly creative. But it is a practice of directing your thinking. And
Because we have
so
a
yes,
negativity bias. We're going to continually go to what's negative, or what's going to hold us, or prevent us from getting there. We have to practice these questions that we're going to ask ourselves. It's really asking ourselves questions, because the brain just brains. It has self-talk going constantly. It's going to be
yeah,
negative, because part of it. So you can't try to. It's a whack-a-mole situation to try to fix that self-talk. It's just practicing, like you said, that driving that attention towards the questions that you want to ask. Where do I want to go? What difference will it make? When I
yeah,
get there, what would it look like, and all the different shapes and forms.
yeah. And I'm absolutely a huge fan of that question. What difference will this make for me? Man, focus on that. Focus on the answers of that. What difference will this make for my health? What difference is this going to make for my sex drive? What difference is this going to make for my communication with my family or my team? What difference will this make in my bank account? I mean, on and on and on and on. It's such a powerful question. What difference will this make if I take this action, if I make this decision? So good. Hey, Glenn, this show is called Vision Pros. And so my next question for you is, what's your vision? What's that clarified story that you've been, you know, working on up here that you are efforting now to unfold in the physical realm?
Thank you. The vision is everything. And as we talk about, what does that look like, and what difference will that make? That's the questions that you're asking. So that's the same way I asked for the company that we're building at Stamina Lab, and it's to help people improve their health and well being, so they can live a long health span, so they can do more of the things they want to do with the people that they care about in their lives. And that I think that last little part is so important. Is again, it's why are you doing this? So you have that you can live a long health span, not a lifespan, a health span where you have the
Mm,
physical
mm,
ability to be able to do the things you want to do. And we believe that by changing your behavior, helping you through that, learning this process, the solution focused approach to asking these kind of questions, that you can, you have the capacity uh, to go to that direction that you already want, that you already are on. By listening to this podcast, you're already on that path. You are already heading in that place, that becoming the person that you want to be. And with our solution focused approach, that's really, it's such a powerful, it's evidence based. It's been 20 some meta studies over the last 30 years have proven that this approach really works to help people improve their lives in any way, shape, or form. We're applying it, like I said, to a health first approach, like I have for my life, because I believe health is wealth. And when you have that health span and you are able to do anything you want, then the world's your oyster. So that's where the vision is, to help as many people as possible to learn this approach.
yeah, I sure like that. Health is wealth. We've we frequently don't understand that until we are experiencing some sort of dis-ease or discomfort physically, right? And then all of a sudden we're like, whoa, I really want to be healthy again. I want my health back. And we are, if we are health rich, generally, I mean, what I mean by that is if you've got a body and you've got all your limbs, right? Like you, you are so wealthy. Like, and people say, well, what do you mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is, like, I remember one of my mentors said, would you, if I gave you $100,000, would you cut off your arm and give it to me? And I'm like, no, of course not. Well, okay. Well, how about $1 million? $1 million, and you have your arm removed. No, not even 5 million. No, 10 million. No, you can see our bodies are priceless, right? We're not. I mean, just consider that. I mean, because we take it for granted all the time. I want to share just something briefly, because I'm in my 50s, and 2 years ago I realized what you're talking about. Health is wealth. Like, I mean, in the most sincere fashion, health is wealth. And but I realized, like, oh, in my 50s, I'm starting to lose muscle mass. That's weird. That hasn't happened before. Um, and so made a commitment to become the strongest that I've ever been in my life. And so
Hmm.
joined the gym for the first time in my life. Never joined a gym, never did weightlifting. And what I can tell you is that it was an incredible opportunity for me to practice discipline, all right? The practice of directing my thinking, but also experiencing that wealth of health, like to feel strong in my body. That's It absolutely feels so good. And guess what? It feels good every single day.
Yeah.
So I did it for 1 year, and I actually became stronger than I've ever been. Not the fittest, because I used to do triathlons, but the strongest I've ever been. And then I was like, this is a fun game to play. I'm going to go for year two. So 2 years into it now, I'm like, every day I feel the wealth of that health. And so I love that you are what you're offering to people, and I want people to really pause and consider what you're talking about. And if you are in that age bracket where you're like, boy, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to get my health back, or how to create health, or where to start. This is what Glenn does. He's here to to help you figure out where to start. They've got proven results. They've got a plan. And Glenn, I'm assuming that you've got some sort of discovery call, or people
Oh
can
yeah,
reach
for
out and
sure.
ask questions.
Yeah,
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 tell me a
yeah.
little bit about that, and where they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, so visit staminalab.io, and there you can see some of the details on our approach, which is really interesting. I find it so fascinating, this approach. And you can also just book a discovery call through there. There's a button for that as well, and you can download. We have a bunch of resources on the site that you can download and check out, or you can take some assessments. Your self talk style is one of those that's on there,
Mm.
or your stress perceptions on there. There's a few little assessments you can take, and basically they walk you through and then give you some solution focused questions. Again, it's about the questions that you're asking yourself, some questions that you can start to ask yourself. And then one thing you said before was about guilt and shame, and this approach is so powerful because it takes away the guilt and shame of change. When you ask yourself, someone comes to us and says, oh damn, I had a half a pint of ice cream last night. It's horrible. I just can't do this right. Whatever the negative thoughts that come into play. And traditionally you would say, okay, well, why did you have that half a pint of ice cream? What triggered it? Let's find it. Find a reason why it happened. And the next time it happened, you can replace that. But that's almost a whack-a-mole game again, because every time something triggers you, you're trying to find the replacement for it. So when someone comes to us and says, why, so you had to have a pint of ice cream, instead of asking you why, and have to relive the trauma of whatever the reason was that you had that, we would say to them, well, what kept you from eating the whole pint of ice cream? And they're like, well, I didn't eat the whole pint of ice cream because of the strengths, skills, and resources that you already have. And this is where it takes away the guilt and shame, because there's no guilt and shame for having that half pint of ice cream because you didn't have the full pint. And you could replace that half a pint of ice cream for whatever. But the idea is that we highlight what you did do. And then you're like, wait, actually, no, I did do some stuff there. So the next time that happens, whatever the problem happens, you've remembered, hey, wait, I do have the resources inside myself to be able to take this on. And that takes away the guilt and shame. And so if we do a discovery call with you, even just a few minutes, we can start to ask some questions that can even just shift your life in a positive way.
That example you gave is so powerful. I love that. I haven't heard it in the context of health before, and I really appreciate it. I love this idea, and you're talking to somebody who loves Haagen-Dazs ice cream, right? And no joke, this is literally one of the topics and or the temptations that I deal with, like, on a daily basis, right? Okay. I've got several pints of Haagen-Dazs in my freezer. And I could eat an entire pint easily. And again, I'm a healthy, fit person, right? And still I have this weird chatter in my head about how much Haagen-Dazs ice cream did you eat? So I'm going to implement this. Instead of being like, "Oh my god, I had too much." I'm gonna be like, "Oh, I didn't eat the whole pint."
And
Right?
ask yourself why. And so the next time you go into that pint of ice cream, if you ask that, it's again practicing that asking that questions. You'll remember that the next time, and maybe you'll only have a quarter of a pint. Maybe you won't even pull it out. You're like, oh, I remember, or maybe you will have more of it, whatever. But it's asking yourself, what kept you from going for
Yes.
more, and then highlighting, these are the things that I have inside me, this capacity for that, to being that healthy person you are. And
Yes.
even if you had that half a pint of ice cream, you are still being a healthy person.
Yes. Yeah, so thanks for highlighting that. It's what we say to ourselves matters. It's so important. And so I love this approach. I'm a fan, and I want to encourage our listeners, hook up with Glenn, go to his website, check it out, take some of those assessments, and really begin to take this approach of asking these helpful questions. Why? Get curious. What we're talking about is getting curious at a deep level, right?
Yeah.
And when we get curious, you're going to see things that you didn't see before, and they will become helpful tools to aid you towards producing the outcomes that you truly desire. Glen, thanks for being on the show. Any last words that you'd like to share with us before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just say be kind to yourself.
Mm.
We're all on a path, and you're already becoming that person you want to be. Like I said, you're listening to this podcast, so you're already on that path.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah. Well, thanks for being on the show. And now it's time for you all to get out there, be a source of kindness, be a source of contribution. You do have something to offer this world, and I believe in you.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.